Good morning, everybody. How are we going this morning on the tribe? Welcome to everybody here on this beautiful sunny day here in Melbourne town. So we are live with yet another Tuesday tip, and today we're going to be talking about a luminance noise. And the reason being is that I was preparing this file for print just this week. A client came in on the weekend and wanted to order this. This is a spot called the McRae Lighthouse down here on the Mornington Peninsula. And I decided that this was a good choice, or they decided it was a good choice, and they have ordered it at something around the 150 to 170 centimetres wide. And just to give you an idea as to what that sort of means for us here in Lightroom world, let's just go back a step. I just want to bring up the raw file or the stitched file for you. It's actually a stitch pano. So just to zoom in on these guys, just bear 2 seconds. Just mention in the comments that you can hear me loud and clear. You'll see here from this series of images that we've got a series of panos. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the ones that go, yep. So once we stitch these together, we end up with a DNG file. This is from a drone, of course, okay? And with that, I was just amazed at how much noise was in the shot. Let's just look at one of these raw files, for example. Let's just quickly run a quick sort of auto over this just to brighten it up. File could not be found. Well, that's just, glorious, isn't it? I'm doing a little bit of reshuffling with my folio here, so just bear with me 1 second. This, I'm pretty sure, would be similar, but let's just have a look. Pano for resizing. This is the one that we wanted to look at. Because if I was just to reset this one here, just take it back to all its original settings. Let's just make sure that I've got the right file here. That's definitely not the one I want. All right. So if we zoom in at this one here, let's get back on track for a second. It'll just pop. And look at how much noise is in that. I hope you can see it on your screen. But just to show you, this is shot with a DJI Mavic 2 Pro with the 20 megapixel sensor. And it's shot on 1/320th of a second at f8, so a nice sharp aperture, but ISO 100, and it's still that grainy. Can't work out why, okay? So regardless, we're dealing with a file that's quite grainy like that. So if anyone's got any ideas on how we can eliminate that while we're shooting it, let's talk about that. But in the meantime, I can't print that, and it's not going to look any good if I try and print that at 150 centimeters wide. So good morning, JP. Good to see you here. So some of you are probably familiar with sharpening here in Lightroom, but not so much with the noise reduction, which tends to default, I think, to 25 in both the luminance as well as the color. Okay, I think by memory it starts off like something like that. Now, we're not suffering from color noise in this sense. Color noise would appear in these darker shadow areas as red, green, and blue pixels that haven't received enough light information, and therefore they've taken on their native color, which is red, green, and blue. Obviously, well, not obviously, but the cameras are getting so much better in controlling that digital noise that they're doing a brilliant job of it. In this case, it looks like DJI are falling a little bit behind with this luminance noise. Now, what is luminance noise compared to color noise? Luminance noise is the grain you're seeing in this file here, okay? This horrible grain that we're seeing through here that looks like grain in film. It looks like I shot it on ISO 400 or 800 speed film. Okay, so what we need to do is come in here to the noise reduction. We're here in the develop module, detail, noise reduction. I need to eliminate the luminance noise before I go ahead and resize this file for print. Okay, and I'll show you how I do that as well in a second. So we need to up the luminance slider here to a point where it starts to really get rid of that noise. Okay, it's done a pretty good job there. Just going to take off that color noise reduction there as well. Okay, and this little toggle at the top of this palette will take us to a before and after of this particular shot. problem is that we've got this detail slider that's slid up here. We need to drag that back to the left as well, okay? Now we're seeing much more of an effect of what the luminance noise slider has done. So start with the detail and the contrast at 0 and take your luminance slider up to the point that it eliminates that luminance noise, let's say by about 80%, which it's done a very good job of there. Just have a look again at this. I'm toggling this on and off, and you should be able to see in the sky as well as around this lighthouse here that's certainly taking that out. JP's just saying, I think your pit's underexposed. You should have overexposed a little more and that will start to get you off. Potentially that. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, JP. Let's have a look. I'm always hesitant to shoot these raw files with the DJI in the drones, overexpose them, because you can't easily see where they're overexposing the image when you shoot it because of the small screen and the small histogram. And it just takes a little bit of this blowout, say on the top of these cars or on the beach here, and it really ruins the photograph. It's very hard to get that those highlights back. So hence why I've underexposed this. But I think this is only probably a stop underexposed. I really don't see why it would be having such an issue with that luminance noise. But coming back to this file, you'll now see that what we've got here is an elimination of that luminance noise. Let's just wait for this to tick. There we go. And now, why would you not take it up to 100? Well, you can see the effect that it's had on that image. All these noise reduction filters and luminance reduction filters do is soften the image to hide the noise, okay? So at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide how far you want to bring these up, but the further you go, the softer the image will look, because that's all it's doing. It's softening the picture to hide that noise, okay? Clearly, as JP's saying, it's better to not have that noise in the first place and start without that. But I was just noting here on this DJI file, if anyone else has had the same problems with that DJI Mavic 2 Pro, please let me know and we can chat about it, and I'll do some research online as well. But in the meantime, I was just keen to smash out the file and get it to the printer as soon as possible, and it came up really well. I'll show you in a second. Frederico here is saying maybe you can use the AI gigapixel. Yes, and that's a very good point you made, and something that I wanted to illustrate here for the purpose of this demonstration is the difference between the gigapixel technology to upsize it and Photoshop, for example. So let me just dive in here to a couple of different files. Let me just open this guy's file. My client's here. This is the gentleman here. And we did get Gigapixel to resize it for us. Okay, so let's have a look at both of these. Hold on. And then we've got the one for print. Yep. And part B of this little instruction this morning is this resizing of the images in order to send them to print. Okay, so let's have a look at this. This is this horrible file that's come out of Lightroom here without the luminance noise being reduced. Okay, and then what we've done is this is the file here with the luminance noise reduced, so you can certainly see the difference here. This is without, and this is with the file having that luminance noise reduced. And then what we did is we brought it into, let's just zoom in here, into AI gigapixel, just as Frederico is suggesting. Now this is this one here, this is the symbol at the bottom of my screen. I don't know whether you can see that on the live. Does it bring that up? I don't think it does. But it is called Topaz Gigapixel AI. Excuse me one second. The hay fever is just getting me at the moment. Now, I have been using this quite successfully in order to blow pictures up when you're dealing with a smaller file size and taking it to a lot larger one. And I've demonstrated on my Facebook page before the differences in the quality using Photoshop, for example, versus this gigapixel AI. And you can do it, up to 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, times the file size. And in doing that, what we did with this one here, just to come back to Photoshop, is that we've now got this file that's been blown up, and let's just confirm the file size, image size, 200 centimeters by 85. So that was the file that Gigapixel spat out at me, and you'll see the quality is quite extraordinary. We're now zoomed in at 100%. Okay, and so what we did is we eliminated the luminance noise to begin with back here in Lightroom, just like I showed you here, the luminance noise reduction. I didn't touch the detail or the contrast. I then brought it into this Gigapixel AI, okay, resized it up to 200 centimeters, and I won't show you that because it takes quite a while to do, as in the software takes a while to spit it out. And then that was a little bit over what I needed it for, but I just resized it downwards. And then when we ended up with this file, which I believe is about 100 and, let's have a look, yeah, 170 centimeters by 80 centimeters we ended up going with for the client, okay? And that's zoomed in at 100%, and you'll find that that quality is far, far better than this original one. Have a look at that. So that's the original stitched panorama that came out of Lightroom, okay? And here's the one that we're sending off to print. So you'll see the marked difference in those two. All right, so just be aware of that luminance noise that can show up in your photographs. It more often than not shows up when you are underexposing your photographs, as JP has said. Now, Frederico is just talking about the AI Sharpen that he says hasn't tried, but the videos look great. Yeah, I'm yet to use that technology as well. So I find, Frederico, that the Gigapixel AI technology sharpens the image in resizing it anyway. So I find that there's not really a need to sharpen the photograph after I've resized it using this technology. However, obviously you could use Photoshop or that Gigapixel AI or the Topaz AI technology in order to sharpen the image. All right, so that's just a quick little tip there, guys. As I said before, keep an eye out for your noise reduction. Often it comes in files that are underexposed, but in this case, I was very surprised to find it in my photographs here from my DJI Mavic Pro that, has been shot during the middle of the day on a bright day, as you can see here, and yet it was still showing up. So it just goes to show you, if you're going to print something, make sure you blow it up to 100% first, zoom in 1:1 here in Lightroom or in Photoshop. Just check over the file first, guys, so that you don't print it and you're disappointed with it all. It doesn't hurt. Before I send anything to print through the gallery here, excuse me, my computer's just going a bit nuts, I do zoom in at 100% and I scan over the file looking like this, from left to right, A to B, up, down, top down, whatever you want to say, to get rid of any of these little artifacts, for example, any little dust bunnies, things like that. Because on the screen it looks great, but if you don't zoom in at 100%, you end up getting back the print and you're disappointed because, of course, it's all been enlarged far bigger than what the screen is, and all of a sudden you've not seen that imperfection in your photograph. So take the time just to go through your images, make sure they look fabo before you send them to print, because you really don't want to have it reprinted. That's just a complete waste of money. So that was a little lesson on luminance technology there, luminance noise, and also resizing of images for printing. Okay, this Gigapixel AI technology is excellent and does a far better job when you're blowing up very big files, say from Photoshop versus this Topaz. All right, guys. Have a great day. Hope you enjoyed that little tutorial. I just wanted to share what I've seen and learned and been doing this week, and hope to catch you later. Have a great week. See you later, guys. Bye.